Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon listeners. It's me Suleiman Ben Sware coming back on Facebook Live on the Open Gambia platform. If we just share the video and we can start this program. You just bear a minute to do that. Yeah, we're almost there. Okay, thank you very much. Today is is it Wednesday? I'm not actually sure what day it is today. That's how much I am. I have to look at this. Yeah, today's Wednesday, the 5th of October 2022. The time is just gone about 2 minutes past 5 in the afternoon in Birmingham, England. I am a bit kind of emotional. This sort of programs are the programs I love most. They are the easiest program to do, as it's a different form of advocacy, but they are very charged, emotionally charged when it comes to it, because it gets into my inner feelings of expressing my gratitude, expressing my experience, and going back to history in order to celebrate the goodness of us and the goodness of our nation, which we rarely do. And I will actually would thank my brother, a brother of mine, who actually asked. I did not know that the day today is this great day that we need to celebrate our teachers. A brother of mine reminded me that today is the World Teachers Day, and actually made a flyer to be celebrating World Teachers Day, to make a flyer for our platform to share. And he asked me if I did not have a tight schedule, if I would not mind to come and have this program. And obviously I had to. It's a pleasure to do that, and I'm thanking him for alerting me to come and do this program. And I'm warning you, I'm already charged of my entire body is filled with emotions. But I am glad to share. I'm glad to share. I'm a very emotional person. And today we're celebrating World Teachers Day. And we are celebrating great teachers. But I am saying that we are celebrating teachers for that matter. I believe all teachers are great. Yes, there will be teachers that will fail us. There will be teachers that will not meet our expectations. But why are we celebrating all teachers is a noble vocation they choose to do, or the noble vocation they engage themselves to do. It's not something easy. It's not something easy, but it's one of the most noble vocation one can take up as a challenge to deliver. How effective they do it. Why did I say that? And that's it. This is why we keep on appealing and advocating for our government to invest in education, to make sure teachers have the investment required to build their capacity, and to make sure they have what they need in order to live a dignified life, so that they'll be able to discharge their duties. I believe that most cases where teachers have failed is because of the system have failed them, because they have not been trained well, because they have not been equipped with the resources, because of and they have not been supported in order for them to be effective. I don't believe that any citizen would choose to go to a vacation that difficult just because of they want to betray the people or they want to let the people down. Citizens can choose that in politics because of the lucrativeness of politics, but not in the field of education. In that sense, that's why I said I am celebrating great teachers, and to say it, I am celebrating teachers for their contribution for making us who we become, and the society who the society what this society comes. What is a teacher? The teacher is an educationist, but a teacher is a parent. And teacher, it's the fulfillment of parenthood. Just as our parents bear us and invest in us, guide us, and everything else have to be complemented by a teacher, or be complemented by teachers, and the contribution of those teachers make us who we become. And by that education, that's how we become to fulfill our potentials and serve our nation, serve our society, for our society to be better. A society without educated people, that society cannot progress, because everything we need for our progression starts with education. Yes, obviously our health and well-being, then we need that education to either to do it. Anything we do, will require education in any forms, be it professional, academic, and any other things we needed to be educated. Then especially those who are there at the infant's age, at the early learning to our, in our progression, in to educate us, to have that primary and secondary education. These are champions, and teachers at every level are champions for that matter, for the sacrifice they do in order to bring us. And there are lots of challenges, many challenges, because we have to remember that teachers are parents as well. Most of them will be parents, or they are parents at the time they are teachers, and they have to come to the school and be the parent of all those other children. Part of what they do, it's not only to transmit words or to pass knowledge, but it's to shape the children before them. With all the challenges they have with their own family, with all the challenges, economic challenges they have with them, on themselves and their family, and every other thing challenges they have, be it medical within their family, be it economical within their family, be it every other challenges they have to drop that the minute they enter that school in order to concentrate, to be strong, to ensure they impact on those children, on the people, in order to frame them and prepare them for the challenges ahead. These are challenges and it's rewarding. But it's not rewarding whilst they are active in their service, because governments don't take them or give them what they deserve for the work they do. But they always take the blame when children fail. But they don't get the reward for the support that they need in order to serve that noble cause. But I have witnessed, I've seen it, and for that information, I try to always empathize with teachers, regardless of who they are, whether they directly impact on me or not, because I know they are indirectly impacting on me, because they are impacting on society. Those other teachers they brought up, those doctors they brought up, those nurses they brought up, those mechanics they brought up, engineers and scientists, agriculturists and everything else, those are the people we depend on. I try my all best, and that's why I am advocating for this. I'm advocating for every person, especially from developing world, especially from the Gambia, where teachers are disregarded. We continue to express our respect. We continue to show our gratitude for what they are doing for our society. What I said, that I have seen the rewards, where people who are teachers, or who were teachers, when their face lit up because of they have met a student they have impacted on. And I am one of those students, where I have met teachers that have impacted on me. I'm proud of who I become, and I see their face. That is satisfactory, that they have that's what they achieve. That's a reward. I have seen teachers who used to be teachers or teachers get rewarded by students they have impacted on by giving them gifts. I know a teacher who went to the port authority because a family member bought a vehicle for the teacher, and he went to the port authority to pay for that vehicle. The vehicle was sent, and the money to clear the vehicle was sent to him. At the port authority, the teacher met a student he did not know or did not realize how much he have impacted on the student. That student was a businessman at that period, and decided to take up the bell to say to him that, teacher, I will have this one. I have seen many. And from my experience, I'll explain something that have such similar examples that have transpired. But I try by my all best, and I'm still searching for some of these, just to say thank you to them. Just to say thank you to them, I know it will mean a lot. Some I did not have the opportunity to do because they are normal. But whenever I meet their relatives, I'll say thank you, and to pass that on and I know where they are, that thank you will get to them, because I sincerely appreciate what they have impacted on us. This would take me to my life experience, and as I said, it's a very, very difficult thing to talk about life experiences, but it's quite a pleasure for me to do, because I know that's one of the best way to teach. It's one of the best way for other people to learn from my mistakes, from my achievements, from my challenges, from my troubles, for other people to learn from them, or other people to understand their own challenges, understand their own mistakes, and learn from them, and appreciate their achievements. That's why I am, it's quite easy for me to do, but it's quite difficult again because it makes me emotional. But again, I am comfortable sharing that emotions, because of they are just natural emotions that come out when we talk about this. But again, by talking about my experience, I want to make it easier for people to take the journey and think of their experience in order for them to reconcile any other differences, to take it as a leverage in order, in fact, to move forward, to capitalize on learning from the mistakes and appreciating the achievements, and take those achievements as an incentive to move forward. My journey is a Gambian student's journey. Some, and many for that matter, but not all. We all have our different journeys, because we are all different. It's not that because of whether we are from the same region, whether we went to the same schools, or we came from the same parents. No. It's because of we are human beings that would share certain attributes that are not even shared by shared to our own siblings, but shared to others that are affected, or in other sense, I would even say that are blessed, because some of these challenges are seen as cause or someone being affected. But no, that's their nature, that's how they've been brought up, and that's not a disadvantage. In fact, by looking at it, they have an advantage in other sense. What I mean is, which I understand now, I say which I understand now, that growing up, and I am, but growing up, it was more manifested when I was growing up, that I suffered from some form of autism. I suffered from a form of dyslexia. Yes, these things, words would be strange in those days, even in the Western developed world. But by hindsight now, understand some of my troubles, my challenges to be what it was. People that know me growing up will tell you that they are surprised now that I can be out here expressing myself, because it was difficult to do. I stutter. I have a very bad speech impediment. Still, people can pick that in my pronunciations or the choice of words. Because I learn to live with it. I would frame sentences. I would choose words that would make it easier for me to communicate, and naturally it becomes natural and part of my vocabulary, and easy to do. And it was really bad, to the extent of it hampered my education. But the most bro, yeah, my life later. Okay. Obviously, it's really affected my education, and as it's affecting others still their education. But I will explain how teachers did help, probably by identifying or become good teachers to identify and support and help me to be who I am today. But I went with those challenges, and other students were going with those challenges, and students are still going with those challenges. That's why, again, we advocate for investment in schools, to teachers to be trained, facilities to be available, so that every child will have an opportunity to be educated in order for them to meet their potential. Because those challenges doesn't mean that they are stupid. Those challenges doesn't mean that they cannot be productive. Those challenges doesn't mean that they cannot impact in the well-being of society. It's just that they do things different. They understand different. They excel in other ways that are not being structured in our education system. This is why we need to continue to understand education. But again, as the topic is to celebrate the teachers and the contribution of teachers. In this experience, growing up, obviously, and which I want to include, that chronic education is part of the education system. And for my culture, this is where I started my education first. I have to be enrolled in chronic education before being enrolled in the Western frame of education. And I'll have to celebrate the two main teachers I have. We call them Karamoko. Some people call them Cherno, and Ustaz, or whatever it is. The two that impacted more on my life that I went through. And the first person was in Bakau. At time he was living in Bakau. He was local, and that's where I started my chronic education. And his name was Jallo Wara. I don't even know the full name, but Cherno Jallo Wara he was called. Jallo obviously was the surname. Wara was the region that he came from. But obviously he have a name, but we don't know. We just know the Cherno. Where I started my chronic education, but later have to move because of he moved away from Bakau to the Combos. Then I moved to another teacher, Ustaz or Cherno, we used to call him Cherno Baba Okambure. And interesting enough, I don't know Cherno's name. And Baba Okambure means in Fula, Baba dad, Baba as dad, give me bure. Bure is 2 bututs. Tells you my time that 2 bututs was something. And this Baba Okambure, in fact, because he was living in Kachikali, that's where we went out this thing. I later find out how this name came about. It was due to his generosity of giving to children. And when I enroll at the square in the Dara, I get to see the generosity, how much we used to take every Thursday. We used to take Nyanente Kopar or something like that. To give, as it was the tradition. I think it gradually get to a certain amount, but it was just a token. Every child brings on a Thursday or on a Wednesday, I think. But literally, it's something that he would use to share. And every time we finish Dara, Baba will give bure. And this bure encourage other children from the neighborhood to be coming to seek that bure. And this was Baba Okambure, Baba Okambure, Baba Okambure. And from the onset, he was a brilliant teacher. I spent more time with Baba Okambure than Jallo Wara. And he impacted and shaped me in many ways. We had experience of going to gardens with him. He had a garden in Bakau, Kachikali, where we call around the place called I forgot the name again, but it was the dump site. Around the dump site, he had a garden there. We used to go to the garden. It was fun, but again, it was educational. And he was a parent. He was quite strict, but not actually wicked. He was quite strict. Traditionally this is, but he impacted on us and gave us knowledge. But again, Baba Okambure, we moved from there. We call it Bodefel Tubab. The place he had the garden was called Bodefel Tubab. For one reason, The local called that Bodofel Tuba because that Bodofel, dump site. Dump site, but Gambians will understand. That dump site means dump site for Tubabs, white people. Because that was the dump site for the this thing, where people go to scavenge for, and sometimes even food. But mainly bottles and other recyclable materials to sell. That's why it was called Bodofel Tuba. But we move on to nursery. You see, moving to nursery, I think that's where my my challenges become apparent. It was not at the Dara. When I enrolled on Dara, for one reason, I don't know why, I was not a problem. I was not a problem child. I settled in from the learning the lettering and the alphabets and whatever we call them. I never had a problem. I never had a problem reading it or writing it or loving it. But I went to nursery, and then it only one nursery in Bakau Community Center that almost all my it was not many that in fact went to nursery because it was just a limited space. It was only one nursery in whole of Bakau. And we went to what we call the community center nursery. And yes, Ajikombo was there, but I can tell you, I don't have any more memory that I spent less than a week and I did not fit in. I did not fit in. That's how bad it was. I know that because it was a challenge, I was withdrawn from nursery. And it was seen as I have a problem. Some people thought I have a demon and other things. And again, I had an uncle called Palu Jallo. Palu, we call him Palu Fajara. Actually, I call him an uncle, but my mom calls him an uncle. We are not related, but my mom calls him an uncle. He was part of our family. And it was the kind of community we live in. Pa Aliu came and was actually present when the issue came about my withdrawing from nursing. And Pa Aliu recommended a place that I can be taken. And the reason they recommended that place, it was for stubborn children. A place for stubborn children. And the place called, people from Bakau know, there was a gentleman called Pardon, in Bakau Kachikali, Pardon. Pardon he was an educationist who retired. He's originally from Georgetown. I don't know Pardon's first name again. Just like in the culture, we call whatever name been given, we take it. Pardon had a residence in Bakau Kachikali, in Mamakoto actually. It's still there just by the big tree. And he was an educationist, and his other children were grown up. They all left home, successfully educated, left home. But he was living alone then. He was not married, or I don't know whether the wife passed away or not, but I know he was living alone. And because he came from the provinces, from Makati area, Pardon opened up his home for children, people from the provinces who who passed the common entrance to attend secondary education in the Congo. And there used to be so many. I know lots of people, guys from Pardon. And he used to have run a residence home for these students coming from the provinces, especially from Makati Island area, because they were sent by their parents to come and live with him, and he supports them. And I know that he used to have a lot of support from his network and to support these people, their upkeep, everything else until they finish their secondary school and get into jobs and so on. But again, by doing that, he used to have what they call evening studies. Evening studies was students, especially those days preparing for common entrance, would join. I mean, would come to Pardon to do their English. Sorry, their studies to prepare for the common entrance examination. But it was so strange. I don't know of. I only know of another kid, my age or a little bit older than me, who was residence with me, and he was stubborn as well. But I don't think it was his stubbornness. It's because of he came from a compound opposite, and it was convenient. And I think he lived in that residence home. I'm not sure. And I was moved to Pardon's residence home. I was the only local student I know that lived with Pardon as a residence home in order to be corrected, because I was stubborn. That's their understanding. In order to excel. It's out of love. It's out of caring as parents to want to see our children excel, especially in the belief, which is true, that education is key to that to achieve those aspirations. But again, not only about the education in that sense, academic, I mean. Again, it was like a behavioral problem. And for my parents, the behavioral problem, they could not deal with, they don't understand, they don't know. But that behavior problem actually manifests in the school. It did not manifest in my livelihood or anything else. Yes, I was known to be stubborn, but not destructive for that matter. But in the school, I was seen as really destructive and stubborn. And I was taken to Pardon, and I would say Pardon did great with a lot of students, because I know a lot of people today, grown, far older than me, that excel, that became something. That they were residents there, or from the provinces, or they used to come to the common entrance preparations or whatever it is, and I know they will attribute this to their success, to what Pardon have impacted on them. But again, this is another point that we need to realize, that residence boarding homes needed to be regulated. And I yesterday someone alerted me to something running in the Gambia with the Quranic schools, but that needed to be regulated. Why I said this is, I went through hell for a couple of months. I went through hell. Did I improve? No. I became worse because I resisted. And you see, these are the things I remembered. Now, to understand what autism is, I understand what dyslexia is. That's why I said I knew I was suffering from that. Yes, I was suffering from form of dyslexia by my speech impediment, but again, the signs and symptoms I had, I used to tweak like a jumping light. People that remember my childhood can tell you that. I used to be tapping my leg and shaking my head and literally try to communicate. But not only that, at Pardon, what Pardon thought was best. I am not blaming him for anything. I'm just explaining for us to learn from our mistakes, especially people with children, especially in the Gambia, where things are not diagnosed. Pardon done his best, and his best was to kick the hell out of me, or the devil out of me, to the extent of I used to be hung. Yes, in the boarding home. I still have photos that might remember this. I used to be hung from my arms and whipped, because it was a struggle. Yes, small I was, even for all these bigger boys to keep me in this. And because of the violent nature that I will fight back, they believe that I have probably a gene with me or whatever. And I will be hung, and I'll be beat up, and I will refuse to cry. inside me, I just refuse to cry. And that refusing to cry, it's of morbidity. And guess what? They believe that, I mean, some people might heard about this before, that that I do extract my, how to call it, I don't know how to frame this in English, but I do, I mean, someone might help me with that in English. My body would be, I mean, wherever it is, that's why I'm not feeling the pain. My body would or my feelings would be insulated. That's why I'm present. You see, and I went through this. I went through all forms of punishments. Nothing improved. In fact, I got worse. Because when I get down, anybody that participates in that these things, I will give it to you, even pardon himself. And everybody was scared of it. I could not be scared of it. And obviously, my parents had to withdraw me. And I went through the primary school system. Few months, I was withdrawn until coming age, I think age 7, I cannot remember now. And okay, another point is the bit of the dyslexia was my problem with numbers. And I knew that during my stay in Paro. And I'll tell you, he was so good that when you you will advance, be in any subject, you'll be at the advanced stage than your compatriots or your these things in classrooms. I mean, I was doing some maths and everything before even starting prayer, but I was struggling. And now I'm still struggling with numbers, but I have a mechanism to deal with them. And I knew my problem with those numbers, number arrangements or these things, is because of this dyslexia. In many cases, if I have to deal with money, I have to be very careful. If not, I will always have to have it back of my mind that 1,000 is not 1,200. That 1,000 is 1,000. Yes, I know that, but I'll tell you, if I was going into money, I would count 1,200 and say 1,000. It recently happened to me. Luckily, I text a friend. So, okay, the balance is 1,200. He said, where you get the 200 from? And I just realized, oh, sorry, I mean 1,200. I put 1,200. I said, oh, 1,200. Oh, no, I put 1,400 because of the calculations and that way. But again, I was taken out of there. But I would still have to celebrate pardon for the other people he have impacted. So many others. But there will be other people like us, few probably then, but it will be a greater number if you keep on multiplying this every year, or every other institutions there where children are not catered for. That's why we ask for investment, so that every child will be catered for, to move on. Then went to the primary school. And the primary school was a better experience, but still a challenge. And again, the problem was that because what was taught was not something that was structured. It was not structured for children like us. It might make us look stupid because we might not be participating, or because we are bored, we have channeled our intelligence to something else, way away from what was taught. Probably, in fact, our intelligence was more superior than the normal child in the class. That's what I understand later, and I'll explain this. But at primary one, it was a kind of a challenge. I was still going through the challenge. It's like my attention, whilst the teacher is teaching, I am out of the classroom. What I mean is I am present, but my mind concentration is gone. I am not tuned into what was being taught. And obviously, in those days, the teacher, what they have to do to get your attention is to punish you. And what happens when you punish us? We shut down. We shut down and we push back. And that pushback is disrespectful. Yes, it's anti-authority. I mean, going against authority and everything else, and more punishment and exclusion or whatever happens. But I was lucky by primary two. Another good teacher, great teacher, who was actually like an elder sister because she was from Bakau. I mean, she grew up in Bakau, from Banjul, grew up in Bakau, and was a kind of a friend to my elder sisters and brothers. And it's the late Zahra Faye from Chamkunda in Bakau New Town. May her soul rest in peace. She passed away a couple of years ago in the United States. Zahra have an impact in my life and start to stabilize, because most of the case what it needs is someone to have understanding. But probably from Zahra the empathy came from knowing me, and I know he used to tell me Mansa Makla, you know, that kind of a thing, and started to take me up under her wings. I remember that I was in a different class. She asked for me to be moved to her class because she believed that she can deal with me. And she did. She did. And all that I realized, I know now that she did was kind of open up an understanding between us and kind of treat me a little bit different from the other students. And what that does is it made me achieve a little bit more concentration and dealt with my challenges and receive the little that was coming through my way, and to use that to move on to the other classes. Then I move on. I'll just do it a little bit quick. In primary school, I move on by primary 5. Again, there's another lady called Miss Job. Miss Job, I keep on looking for Miss Job. The last time I knew, she was in Bundung primary school as headmistress or senior teacher, but the time I went to the Gambia, she wasn't there. But Miss Job, I mean, is someone I still want to, she's still alive, and I want to find Miss Job and to say thank you. Miss Job had an impact, and Miss Job's impact, I think, was from her experience. She was a qualified teacher, and Zahra was a qualified teacher as well. Let me not keep that away. But Miss Job, my belief that it was entirely because she was a qualified teacher. And in my class, in primary 4, actually I was one of the, primary 5, sorry, I was one of the youngest. The reason I was one of the youngest is because in those days, if our elder brothers that did not pass primary 6 exams got stayed, or some would even be stayed from primary 4 on 5, try to build them to pass the command entrance. I was in class with some people who are far older than me and so on. And what that brought was challenges, because I was dealing with people who are older than me now as classmates. My problem have never been with students. My problem have never been with disruptive in any form. It was always my problem would be the teacher understanding me and concentration. But in this case, I started to have a little bit of fighting back my siblings within the class. But for one reason, Miss Job had an understanding and helped me to develop. And one thing Miss Job did and made me to learn from that, and something I applied when I went to the army, when I started to be responsible for orders, to train orders, or to have the responsible for them, and still now at the workplace I do that. The most difficult people within your responsibility, within your under your responsibility, give them responsibility. Give them responsibility. Make them important. And one thing Miss Job did was to make me important. But again, she understands where my strength lies, is, and understand my weaknesses. And one thing she did was, we used to have teachers who were on the training at Gambia College. They would come and do their teacher training practice in our schools. And there was this lady that was doing the teacher training, I think it was 6 weeks. 6 weeks. And 6 weeks. And that 6 weeks, um, there will be an invigilator that comes from the college to check how they perform, to be marked off. And we were meant to have a science experiment about water purification, and so on. And I can still remember that when we were preparing for that, we have sub teams, and Miss Job chose me to be the head of the sub team, to do the presentation. Be that even at primary 5, I was struggling to speak properly. At primary 5, I was struggling. I got it in there, but it was difficult to come out. And in order for things, I mean, for me to communicate, I will try to have shortcuts. I'll try to have exchange of vocabulary, something that will be simpler for me to do. And if I engage in that, what does is I am incoherent, or I mean, I'll be all over places. Definitely, I'm not effective. But for one reason, she believed that I should do this presentation. And the one I did was the less exciting one, that needed attention to detail and to explain. And this was there was purification to boiling, purification to exposure to sunlight, and this was, I forgot the one I did, but it was kind of a boring and most difficult. But when he gave me the challenge, I had to prove myself, and I was proud, I was happy that yes, there's someone who have believed in me, I'm not stupid, I can this, and I did well. But after that, after primary 5, I went into primary 6. Yes, I was progressing. I was not failing my exams. I was going through, but not to even I was not applying my potential. I was just going through, so I was passing. But there were other children who were term normal, who were not disruptive or difficult, were failing. They've been put back. And primary 6, I went and had a teacher. I will again celebrate this teacher called Mr. Jiba. Mr. Jiba taught, male teachers. He's the macho one, And okay, this is my experience now. 2 teachers that I've named are women. They have an understanding, support. But Mr. Jiba was kind of a macho, that I'm going to deal with these issues. And he was kind of a bit confrontational with me. And I had a setback. I have a setback on how I was performing. And I did not like it. I come into school or class, I am not engaged, I lose it. And that challenge, obviously I was not enjoying school, I was not doing well. I don't see a future. I was just going to school. But there was a rescue. There was a day that Mr. Jiba was absent from school. Actually 2 days absent from school. And we had this schoolmasters to step in to take our class. The first day the schoolmasters attended the class, he threw something out there. And just, I forgot the book, we used to have this, literature books, one of Oxford Readers or something. I think it was called Oxford Readers or something like that. And he asked us to open a page in the Oxford Readers. And that Oxford Readers page was a market scene. And he asked the students to write about the picture, the market scene. And we did. And for one reason, my presentation, or what I wrote, but it's not about the words, but my take, how I presented, or how I see what I presented, was completely different from the students. Something he noted to me. He was kind of quite impressed how I came where I came. Remember, he did not know my background like what I am like in class or anything, been destructive or been neglect attentive. No, yeah, but he picked that up. And the second day too, we had different exercises. It was just keeping us busy. It was not exactly directed teaching curriculum, teaching us busy. Again, that's master was Seni Sise. That's the father of Koro Sise. And look, I can come and sit here to talk about a lot of things that he inspired in the school, in Bakau School, how he transformed Bakau School. But again, at that level, I remember Master Jallo, I remember Master Brame, all these people, I remember Baranjai and others, how they contributed. Teachers have been contributing. But I am talking about my experience directly, as I said. Others would take this journey to think about their experiences. But Master C said that more he impacted. But because I was struggling, those 2 days I did well, I was listening, but just deflated, and I left school. I left school. I have never had problems of tourists. I come to school, I come on time. I never had those problems with. It's just when I'm in school, I have a problem. I left school, and obviously my parents have a challenge to what to do next. And this deliberation. I should go and learn a trade, and we were doing those deliberations. But I was always home. I'm not when I'm home and so on, unless I have something challenging, and I will tackle that. I never had a problem of anything else. One day, in the evening, Master Cisse turned up to our class, my house. He found out where I lived and turned up to my house. That's why I said I owe a lot to Master Cisse. Technically brought me back to school. At that time, almost I've not attended primary 6 for that matter, and I went, and Master Cisse said that he realized that I have not been going to school. I don't know how, because nobody else bothered to come and pick me up, but Master Cisse came and picked me up and said to me, tomorrow, get to wear your school uniform and come to the school, come to my office with your parents. I went again with that uncle, Palu Jallo, went to the class, and he said that you have to take the command entrance. And this, regardless of that, I've not been coming to school. And I think I had some weeks to go for the command entrance. It was so late that I don't even have I don't think it was about, it was so late that I can still remember the number I was given. My examination number, you call it, or in this thing, it was 661. I still remember that. Everything he managed that, to get me, make sure I attempt the command. He said, whatever the case, you have to attempt it. We don't want you to stay this thing. I know you can do it. And obviously, he gave me these things where my strength was. My strength was in language, English. My strength was in quantitative these things and all. Technically that. And I passed the command entrance, but did not make the cutoff mark. What we used to have is a cutoff mark. You end up doing well, having more than half of the 500 points. You can score 250, you can score 260, and still will not make it to a high school. What we used to call a high school, because of Gambia High School cutoff mark is 280, or St. Augustine is this, and other schools are that. It was only few schools. Then what happens is people that did not make that cut mark to certain mark would be qualified for secondary schools and so on, and others would have to repeat their decision. And I opted to repeat. This time I was so, because of my performance, I wanted to repeat because I want to go to high school now. But my mother, for that matter, said, no, let him not repeat, let him just go, thinking that if I repeat, I'll just fell off the bus. Let him just go, let him move on. And I move on, and I did not regret that. Again, went to secondary school. obviously a little bit mature, and secondary school dynamics were kind of a very bit of little bit of independence and difference. Yeah, and dealt with it. But one thing happened again, another teacher. And again, at a different level, there was this headmaster we have, Mr. Abrahams, James, I think it's James Abrahams. Mr. Abrahams was the headmaster. And one thing I always look forward to was assembly. I think we used to have assembly Mondays and Fridays. Mr. Abrahams, 10 minutes dialogue that he presentation he does every day. It was like an inspiration. He comes in. I can still remember most of the scene. Dialogues. What they were, and really. I was looking forward to those. Talks, and he was a showman as well. He was a showman. Very short, athletic, bluff, and at times he would gymnastic in front of us because he was a gymnast. And it was inspiring. But I met a teacher called K.O.K. Kamara. K.O.K. Kamara was teaching French. And K.O.K. French and English, literature, yeah, French and English. And I don't know which subjects I met him, but we did. And K.O.K. later I got to know in a family kind of relationship, but we first knew each other through school. And again, K.O.K. Was one of those that picked something from me. And I now realize what might have happened. K.O.K., I think I wrote about something. I wrote about something and he was impressed the way I did it. And what K.O.K. did was, he made me believe. And I now think that he made me just believe it. It never happened. He used to tell me, ask for me to write about topics that he made me to believe that he have former students studying that who need these inputs for their thesis. You know how that makes me proud? How that motivated me? That someone believed in me, that someone up there, higher education, need my thoughts? At that time, I believed. At that time, I believed these people, my teacher so much believe in me, what I can do, and there are some former students in higher level of education who need my thoughts. And he would ask me about tourism, he asked me about things. But again, because we do converse, I'll come to those teachers. I had other teachers outside of school. That's why my education was more formed out of schools than school. But let's just look at the teachers that I've K.O.K. Kamara was just brilliant. Just give me that impact. And again, coming to K.O.K. before moving down, is to what I call my world teachers. Is K.O.K. Again, as I said, and which I appeal to every person to try to, if you have not been doing it, do it. Go out there and celebrate our teachers. Go out there and celebrate any teacher that you know, because I said every teacher is a great teacher. They might not impact well on you, but they have, because of the limited resources or support they have, but that's what their intentions would be, and they have impacted on so many other people who are now impacting on others. That's how great being a teacher is. We don't just pick on the success stories we have, but let's accept that they are all out there to do good, and we should celebrate them for doing that good. But especially those that have impacted us directly. If we still have the chance, let's go out there to tell them thank you. Whether they're retired, they're still active, they say thank you to them. It means a lot. It means a lot. And even if they are not here today, if we know their families, it would mean a lot to tell their children, or your dad, your mom, impacted on me, was my teacher. It means a lot. And I'll tell you, it will get to them wherever they are. And K.O.K. was this person that I had the opportunity, and I still cherished, because it happened after living in Europe, England for a while, and I went back to the Gambia. It happened, he was a neighbor to my younger sister. Whenever I visit my younger sister, but I will make sure I make it a point to visit K.O.K. Unfortunately, latter part, he was in the international, he was working in the diplomatic missions in Saudi Arabia and fell ill and came back to the Gambia. And I have visited two to three times when he was still bedridden. And the joy is here. The family said something to me. Once, one of these visits, the family said something to me. He said he tends to recognize you. He tends to recognize you. He doesn't recognize a lot of people. But the family were amazed that he tends to recognize me, because the family thought that I was visiting because of the latter family relationship that that transpired between my in-laws and KOK's family. They thought that my visit was for that. They didn't know I'm a former student. And when they point this out to me, I didn't go out to say, oh, I'm a former student. They just know me from the family. They say that he tends to react in a way of acknowledge you. And I said to them, that's profound, because I believe that he recognized me. And I believe that he appreciated me coming here because I was a former student. And I say, I am visiting not because of the extended family relationship that have evolved. It's because of my appreciation for the impact he have in my life. He made a difference, a major difference for that matter. That's why I am visiting. I appreciate how much he did, and I said I feel better. You guys, you telling me this because that he realizes. I mean, he have noticed my presence. I said that's enough. I am appealing to every person, be it your chronic teacher, be of every other person or any teacher for that matter present. We give them the respect, we give them the support. This is what they deserve. That's why today we are celebrating them. That's why today we should celebrate them and be a day to recognize them, but we should celebrate them every day. And our traditions I know of, if we don't depart from that, and that tradition still I held in the West here, when I attend my children these things, I make it known to the teachers that I am with you, I am on your side. Because of you are doing a parenting, doing part of my job. When I am out there to fetch, you are there to look after. And that appreciation I know, because I have seen my parents give so much to teachers, to the teachers. This be the chronic teachers, be the Dara teachers, be the teachers in the Western districts, give too much. Be the teachers in the province, teachers in the districts, and contribute, I mean, to the level that they contribute. I mean, these teachers have contributed to become family are so many. Many students have been brought up by their teachers. Many students I know are brought up by their teachers, be in the rural or in the urban. We have teachers going in the rural, end up being parents. I have seen teachers going to the rural and end up being parents, because they will bring back students to help them, support them to higher education. I have seen teachers in the urban, students migrate from the rural to come for continue studies in the urban and end up being brought up by their teachers. Teachers do so much more than what they give in the classrooms. That's why we should celebrate them. But there are other teachers that we need to recognize. And these are our worldly teachers, which I benefited so much. people that we meet every day, people that we live these things, who are not subscribing to be teachers, but because of their wisdom, because of their engagement, because of them giving, giving us that space to hear us, because of them engaging us, their narrative be in different forms. They taught us something which inspired us. They taught us something to shape us. They taught us something to able to move to do something better. I have so many of that. And to today, I still have them in my life. To today, I still rely on people to develop myself, to be educated. Education will never stop. And there will always be people that will teach us. As we teach other people, we are being taught by others. And we need to appreciate this in our society. Today, as the World Day to celebrate teachers, we are celebrating all great teachers. And for my sake, I am celebrating all teachers as great people. People that have contributed. Significantly or greater than any other sector will ever do in our lives. It's unfortunate. I would have loved to do a summary in Wolof, but it's just taken an hour to deliberate this segment of it. But I in the near future, I want to do sort of programs and have a summary in Wolof, and I will have that same summary been summarized in the other major national languages, for that we can impact the community. Bro, now the call back the Manika live. Okay, no problem. No. Yeah, you see, to do that. And I will just have to close this to say thank you very much for following. And we are trying to develop the platform to bring it more content, but there's so much to do at the same time. And probably by the end of the year, will be a full-fledged platform that will have constant programming to come on. But today I am inspired. I am inspired by a friend who asked me to come on to talk about my experience and to celebrate the teachers. And I thank him for that. But I am really happy to do this because of it means a lot. And I am continue to celebrate, and let it not be only celebrate for a day. And that culture of respecting teachers, culture of celebrating teachers should be, reinstated. I don't think it is as it used to be, that where the respect for teachers was upheld to that level. And it was instilled in us by our parents. And I left something which I have to say is, when I talk about my influence, there are teachers I need to celebrate in their Quranic education. You see, that's how important, how diverse education is. I mentioned two the teachers or ustads that I went through. We call them channel, traditional listening. Channel Baba Okambure, I don't know the real name, and from people from Bakau know Channel Baba Okambure, and Channel Jalowara, Channel Jalowara, these two. But I benefited from Ustaz Mane. People from Bakau will know who Ustaz Mane is. Ustaz Mane, late, we said, we'll pray for his life to continue to rest in Jannah, and for the blessings of Allah to continue on his family. And Ustaz Mane was the Imam of the Bakau Barracks Depot later, before he passed away, and now his son, Captain Modu Lamin Mane, is the Imam of the same mosque. He inherited the imamship from his dad. But Ustaz Mane, I can remember us being children. because our traditional daras would always, I have to do this, tradition, because it impacts a lot. The traditional daras used to finish earlier than the Quranic school, and especially on a weekend, because they do a Saturday and a Sunday, and they do like a proper school time. I mean, they have 3 hours a break and 3 hours, But we go in the morning, 1 hour, bam, and come out. And obviously, the Dara was in Bakau Sanchaba, at the Bakau Sanchaba Mosque. That's the Ituno, what we call the Ituno Mosque. It was a small jaka, now it's a mosque. And that's where the Arabic school was. And it was 2 classes. And I remember now, Ami Bensouda, the Talib's mother. Ami Bensouda was the senior, I'm calling her girl. I mean, at that time, she was the senior girl in the Dara. She was taking 1 class. And Ami Bensouda's brother was Koto, he was the Secretary General, Habib Brahma. Habib Brahma was the eldest like the eldest student. And I remember, still have the picture of them, seeing them, and there's a picture going on actually, them leading these 2 classes. One thing I remember, the other person I remember was Ustaz Mane. Obviously, he was young. Look, I mean, at that time, he was a young Ustaz, but very renowned and known to everybody. He was polite. He was, it was like Dara that you don't know of beatings or anything, but he was so influential. And the Dara was very lively. And what happens is, what we used to do is, we finish Dara, we are hanging out waiting for our other friends who are going to that Dara, for them to finish so that we can go and play. At times we will be there and we'll even join the Dara. I have many things that we'll just go and join the Dara, because the thing that used to have in the Dara, Arabic Dara, was I still remember this song as Tala and those songs, and that's we joined in, and he impacted on us, and in many things, and even the practice. Teach when they used to teach prayers and everything that went on there. Yes, I subscribe 100% on those dials, but I have participated. He have influence, he have impact, but influenced so many of my friends and relatives around in Bakau, and which he continued to do in the forces, and became the imam or first imam of Bakau. These things are now inherited by his son. These are all things that we need to celebrate. Thank you very much, guys. It's a long one. I wish I had time to summarize this in Wolof, so that it will be done in other major language. But we are planning to do that, to make sure that every program we do will be short and right, and then we can have it in different languages and share. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Again, we are celebrating all the teachers and say well done. Thank you. Bravo.